Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome you here to our Ag Committee meeting this morning. My name is John Winter. I'm going to read part of the decorum script for you, and I invite you to pick one up and take a look at it whenever you have time. I'm going to introduce the first part of this, and then I'm going to turn it over to Representative Dalton Banks, and he'll conduct the meeting. So first of all, as we begin the meeting, I want to call your attention to the committee's rules of decorum. Copies of the decorum rules are located with the hard copies of the agenda and are available for view on the legislative website on the page for this meeting. We note these rules at the beginning of each meeting simply as a reminder that we expect everyone in attendance to be treated in a courteous and respectful manner. So, I guess we can go ahead and proceed. We have four bills to deal with this morning, so we'll hopefully get through them and have some good conversation. Thank you.
Good morning. So the first bill for our consideration this morning is House Bill 87, and it's the Omnibus Water Bill Planning.
Chairman.
I looked around, everybody's here.
Okay, I'll just check.
No, thank you for the reminder. Yeah, we better get, I'm so excited to talk about water. We better do roll.
Representative Banks,
Here.
Representative Davis,
Here.
Representative Fornstrom,
Here.
Representative Johnson,
Here.
Representative Ottman,
Here.
Representative Provenza,
Here.
Representative Schmidt,
Here.
Representative Strock,
Here.
Chairman Winter,
Here.
you have a quorum.
All right, perfect. Now we'll dive in. First bill for our consideration, House Bill 87, Omnibus Water Planning Bill. And this will be one of the most important bills that we pass through this committee and through the legislature. It deals, there's projects in all communities and counties throughout the state here. So here to kind of walk us through the bill is Director Mead from the Wyoming Water Development Office. If you just want to, I don't think we need to do a deep dissect into the bill, but if you want to kind of walk us through the bill, that would be great, Director.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, Jason Mead, Director of the Water Development Office. Good morning. So the bill essentially authorizes studies, provides appropriations, and then provides the commission the authorization to expend those funds on those particular studies. There's been a lot of work for those folks that have been on the Select Water Committee that have gone into putting these projects together. We get applications March 1st of every year. We're typically, when we have sponsors that are interested in studies, we're talking to them well in advance of March 1st, helping them understand what we do, if their projects fit within our program, or where they might go if they don't. So once we get those applications in, we assign them to project managers. We meet with the sponsors out on site, make sure we understand, what the issues are, what their needs are. If it does fit, we put together recommendations as the office, and then we bring those to the Water Development Commission and the Select Water Committee at our May meetings. We also have the sponsors at those meetings, so we describe the project. The sponsors are there that answer questions, so we have a good conversation. If they're approved to move forward, then we put together as an office a scope of work, each project manager and kind of the team together, working with the sponsors to make sure we're covering all the issues that they're trying to address. And then we actually put this out to competitive bid for consultant selection. So the procurement process for those consultants involve, again, the sponsor. They're involved all the way. We also have members of our commission sitting in on that selection team, as well as our project managers in our office. And put an RFP out, request for proposal. We get interested firms put in on those. We shortlist those. Those shortlisted firms are invited to submit proposals with sealed price proposals within them. And then that committee reviews those proposals, basically shortlists them down to 3 consultants, and we have interviews with those firms where we answer questions, make sure we thoroughly understand how they would approach that project. And when a selection is made, then that dollar amount from that winning proposal goes into our recommendation, and then those recommendations are further considered at our November meeting when we have all of our construction projects as well in front of us, so we can see how everything works together. And then once that's done, it gets put into the draft omnibus bill, and it's vetted once again with the commission, independent then of the Select Water Committee, and then it ends up in your lap. So that's kind of how we got to where we are today. You've got the notebook that we provided. In the front cover of that notebook, you'll see a blue sheet. This is really just a summary of the entire bill. And then about 2 pages after that, we have our fiscal note that's associated with the bill. Under tab A, well, and then the actual bill follows the fiscal note. Under tab A is just a general description of our program, just reference in case you ever need that. Under tab B, we have our 3 accounts. Account 1 is new development, account 2 is our rehabilitation account, and account 3 is our dam and reservoir account. So these were the account balances we had going into making these decisions. And then starting under tab C are where each one of these projects that are on the blue sheet, we call it, or the spreadsheet summary sheet, all those individual recommendations for each one of these projects are provided in this from tab C back, in case you're ever interested in a lot of detail. So with that, I would refer you to the actual bill. So we're about 3 pages into it, I think. Okay, so the first page, again, we just have the introduction. I already mentioned we're authorizing level 1 and level 2 studies. At the bottom of page 1, we get into our level 1 reconnaissance studies for our account 1. And if you move on to page 2, this is just referencing the account that we're asking for funding from and providing a reversion date. Pretty much all of our planning projects, we put 3-year reversion dates on them. And then at the bottom of page 2 is where we get into our first section of projects. We have 8 municipal master plans. We have a lot of interest in master plans. Master plan is really, we take a deep dive into the drinking water system of a particular municipality or special district, understand what the future growth projections are going to look like as far as population, do hydraulic models to understand where the bottlenecks in this system might be, where it's going to be needed to enlarge the system for future growth. We then look at their rates and help them understand what is going to be needed to increase their rates, or what grant loan programs are out there for each individual project that is put together as part of that master plan, and then a kind of a priority list of what they're going to want to work on immediately and then for the long term as well. So they're a good tool for these communities. So we've got 8 of those, and then we also have the UW Water Research Program, which is a heavily vetted program. We have an advisory team, as well as the Water Development Commission and the Select Water Committee consider all of the proposed water research projects. So there were 2 that were selected by the Commission and the Select Water Committee. That first section of projects comes to an amount of $2,186,997 there at the bottom of page 2. Moving on to page 3, this is our level 2 feasibility studies under account 1. At the bottom of page 3, we have one project, that's the Bedford and Turnerville Regional Supply for $327,000. This is a couple of communities that are in fairly close proximity. They get water through springs and have been having some issues with those, and they're close enough where we felt like it was a good idea to try to regionalize that and get them to work together. So they're willing to do that, and I think that'll be a good project moving forward. Moving on to page 4. This is our level 1 studies under our account 2 rehabilitation. So typically our agricultural irrigation type studies fall under rehabilitation. At the bottom of page 4, we have one irrigation master plan for the Shoshone Irrigation District in the amount of $470,000. Then moving on to page 5, we have our level 2 studies under account 2 rehabilitation. And at the bottom of that page, on page 5, we've got 2 there, the Casper Alcova Irrigation District lateral rehab, as well as the Wheatland source and transmission evaluation for a total of $528,000. And then moving on to page 6, section 5 here at the top of that page, this is an appropriation of $175,000 that goes to fund the Office of Water Development Programs. And that's the Greg Kerr, if you've been around the Water Development Commission meetings very much, but he basically provides the oversight of the water research projects and helps get those all put together and works with principal investigators or professors and graduate students to get those lined up. So $175,000 for the biennium or 2 years of budget. And then section 6 are any of the amendments that we currently have from past projects. And this one kind of spills over onto page 7 and page 8. The only amendment we have this year is for the Alkali Creek Reservoir project. And we consider it a level 2 study. Dams and reservoirs is set up a little bit more uniquely, I guess, than our other 2 accounts where we go through permitting and complete design of the project in the level 2 study. So what this is this project started back in roughly 2008, 2010 from just a thought of landowners up there trying to deal with drought and how are we going to get a handle on this? Creeks are drying up. We've gone through a lot of feasibility analysis to understand. I think we looked at, I want to say like 45 different sites, understood where the shortages, everything else, where available water is. And what it ended up with was the proposed or the preferred site is this Alkali Creek Reservoir site. Got that permitted through the Bureau of Land Management. All the permits from the Corps of Engineers are in place. The 401 certification through DEQ is in place. About 50% design, which allowed us then to understand exactly what easements and everything were needed. When we started working with the landowners that we needed easements from, there's been a bit of a hiccup there. Not everybody directly benefits from the reservoir. Some of them are above the reservoir, and this is an off-channel site where you actually feed water through an existing ditch into this off-channel site. So a modification to that ditch is needed. And again, not everybody benefits from this. So what we've looked at, there's been a lot of work with discussions with those folks, and we're talking about a handful of people here. Went through mediation through the Department of Ag, which was helpful. We didn't quite get there. We've had legislators get involved in this project and have conversations with folks, which was also helpful. That led to kind of some outside the box thinking here in this last year of, this is a very highly regulated area, Paint Rock Creek, Medicine Lodge Creeks, which is what the area we're talking about, west of Hyattville, east of Manderson. And the thought being, this project maybe shouldn't just focus on the storage project itself, but how can we help some of these other folks as well and also benefit the storage project? So there's been discussions about some center pivots would help with application efficiencies, potentially free up some water field in the reservoir. There's water quality issues up there through the 303D list. Putting the Anita ditch, which is the supply ditch for the reservoir, as well as existing water rights into a pipe has been something that those folks are very interested in up there, which could help with water quality in the watershed, as well as water quality in the reservoir, as well as efficiency of getting water around. Not to mention then stock water, there's been interest in stock water. Also some diversion structures up there that are push-up dams that would be more easily operated and maintained if they were more of a Roskin structure, which is you kind of put in stair step. So they don't have to go and muck up the stream every year, and it's easier to operate and everything else. So with these thoughts, we've gone back with these landowners, and I say I've been involved in this project a long time. The Knollwood Watershed Improvement District was formed for this project, as well as the engineer that's been hired to work through all of this. Sat down with those landowners, have had correspondence with each one of them. There is willingness to sign option agreements. It's just the devil's in the details in those option agreements. And what we're trying to do now is to go back and figure out what potential other funding sources, federal programs might be available to lighten the load on the state, as well as those landowners that would be entering into these individual kind of mitigation projects. So we're working through that, understanding when you can actually apply, what the award dates are, when that money might be available. Actually putting in an application here next week on some funding that would actually go toward the reservoir, which can then help free up some of the funding that's been set aside for the reservoir itself. So I think we're getting close to the finish line. I'm optimistic to do that. These projects, mitigation type projects that I've talked about, would require additional work for the design of those, as well as the plans and specs and all that stuff. So we're asking for about $1,575,000 to add to the engineer's contract to get through that, with the thought of hopefully we can get those option agreements in place. Then over the next year, we would complete the design of all those individual projects plus the reservoir project, figure out what kind of federal program funding we would have, and then potentially come back to the legislature with whatever additional funding is going to be needed to complete that project. So it's a good project. Whenever we have a reservoir or storage project that we have permitted and we can try to keep Wyoming water in Wyoming for its use, it's always a good thing. So sorry to get long-winded on that, but I know there's been a lot of discussion about Alkali Creek in a recent past year. So with that, that pretty much takes us through the bill. There on page 8, section 7 is just an effective date on that, and it's immediately upon the bill becoming law. So with that, I would ask if there's any questions.
Committee, any questions for Director Mead? Representative Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director, you talked about your bidding process that you start. Do you see a lot of the same contractors coming back every time you go through that process?
We do. We have a lot of repeat consultants, engineering consultants is who we're typically dealing with subcontractors if there's environmental things. But yeah, we do. I mean, we've been in existence for roughly 50 years now. Sometimes we get new consultants coming in, which is always good. There is a preference for Wyoming firms. If we just have one firm put in, we can't look at out-of-state firms. In some instances, we only get one consultant putting in, and there might be 2 or 3 of those in just one given year. And that preference and the stringency of that used to be if there were, I think it was 3 or less, we could look at outside state firms or state firms outside the state. So I do see we maybe have a limited pool of consultants. They do a great job, but it wouldn't hurt potentially opening that back up again, just to get some more competition and more consultants.
Okay, follow up. Just one follow-up question with that. When you do finally get to the 3 that you spoke of to do your interviews, can you tell us what some of that criteria is when you guys make your decision? I think I heard some of it, but
Yeah.
if you could elaborate a little more on that, that'd be great.
So it's really, we put together the scope of work in advance of them coming in for the interviews. So they're really addressing each individual task. We're looking at, is that getting at the issues that the sponsor is dealing with? We have portions of their proposal where they can put in basically alternative scope items. If they think of, hey, we could do this better by doing this, or we can do it more efficiently by doing things, we consider that. And then, of course, the funding and the actual budgets for each one of the tasks when we finally open those, because we don't look at those until we get to the shortlisted 3. It tends to lead to questions where some folks may have more funds in this task and another consultant has more funds in this task, and kind of asking questions to understand why that is, and really vetting and getting a good feel for that. But yeah, really it comes down to what kind of good information do we get for the funds that we're going to be spending on this project, and to make that decision.
All right, that sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Further questions? Okay, thank you, Director. Appreciate it. We'll open this up to public testimony. Anybody in the room like to comment on omnibus water planning bill?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Holly Kennedy, representing the Wyoming Association of Conservation Districts and our 34 conservation districts across the state. I know that you've got a lot of business to get through today. I think it's pretty easy to see what a great bill this is and how it supports water use throughout Wyoming. So obviously standing in support. And with that, I will take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Kennedy? Thank you. Appreciate testimony.
Thank you.
Further testimony on this bill? Seeing none in the room, is there anybody online, Mark?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right, committee, what's your pleasure? There was a lots of moves. I'm gonna say Representative Schmid moved it, Representative Schrock seconded it. Discussion on House Bill 87 or amendments of any. Seeing none, question been called. Mark, if you will call the roll on House Bill 87.
Pardon me. Representative Banks,
Aye.
Representative Davis,
Aye.
Representative Fornstrom,
Aye.
Representative Johnson,
Aye.
Representative Ottman,
Aye.
Representative Provenza,
Aye.
Representative Schmid,
Aye.
Representative Strock,
Aye.
Chairman Winter. 9-0, this is a due pass.
Right. Thank you, committee. So kind of how this works is we will refer this bill to the Appropriations Committee. And then when we get on the floor, how we've kind of done in the past, we kind of tag team when we present. And if there's questions, we kind of take the questions and defend our water bill against attacks on the floor. Not there will be too many, but we like to do that. And then we will see the construction side of the omnibus water bill. That starts in the Senate. We will see that later on in the session come through this committee too. So thank you. Next bill for our consideration, House Bill 29, Little Beaver Bill. Oh, the trapping license bill with our own Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and co-chairman and members. I bring to you House Bill 29. It could be considered a little beaver bill, but it's more aimed at a different animal than that. The reason, a little background on this, the reason I brought this bill is I was approached by the Fur Trappers Association of a possible loophole that was being interpreted wrong, in their opinion, in the statute. So when I went to work with them, and then went to work with LSO, and before you is the draft legislation that we're working with here. The reason for the modifying of this bill is to bring more clarity and less interpretation. And along with that, the agency that would be implementing this has also submitted a physical note on that for what it would take for them to implement this. And with that, I would stand for any questions.
Thank you, Representative. Any questions for Representative Davis? Thank you. Pretty straightforward, I
Thank you.
believe.
Thank you, members.
With that, we'll open it up to public testimony. Would the Game and Fish like to comment on this one? Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Good to be with you again today. I'm going to take Chairman Winter's lead, and I'm going to pass this one off to my colleague as well. Here with me today is Chief Game Warden and Chief of Wildlife, Dan Smith. Dan.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I am Dan Smith, Chief Game Warden, Wildlife Division Chief for the Game and Fish Department. And just a few notes for this bill. Just kind of quickly wanted to go through the process that we use now. And under this bill, it would not change in any way. So a non-resident applicant submits an application to us. Per the bill, they need to submit a notarized affidavit with their address and a copy of their state's current regulations. The department reviews that supporting documentation and confirms that their state of residence allows a Wyoming resident to trap in their state as well. And so, for example, in Utah, trapping for badger, marten, muskrat, and bobcat is allowed for both Utah residents and for non-residents. So a Wyoming person could trap there. So therefore, they could apply for a non-resident fur-bearing trapping license in Wyoming. However, like in North Dakota, martens there are protected, so a Wyoming resident could not go trap martens in North Dakota, and therefore we would not issue them a marten trapping license here. And so we approve those applications. The species that they are legally allowed to trap are listed right on their license, and they're required to carry that license in the field. As proposed, it does provide much more clarity to the language, and that I think that's very helpful. Between 2020 and 2025, on average, we have about 33 non-resident fur-bearing trapping license applications each year. And so there would be no big fiscal impact to the department if we maintain the same way we're doing it. And under the proposed bill, it does not appear to change the issuance process for us. It just verifies and clarifies who would be issued a license. All other current fur-bearing regulations set by the commission, that's a mouthful right there, would still apply. So there's no change there. So in summary, it would be very minimal impact to the department. And I'll stand for questions.
Thank you. Any questions for the Game and Fish Department? Representative Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome Director and Chief Smith, Chief Dan. Quick question. You use the example of North Dakota, no martens. Martens are protected there. Therefore, they couldn't trap or receive a marten license in Wyoming. Wyoming doesn't have specific species license, do they? Isn't it just a fur bearer's license?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Schmidt, for a resident, that's correct. For a non-resident, it actually would list which species they are or are not allowed to trap in Wyoming.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Further questions? Okay, thank you for testimony.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Further testimony on this bill? Okay, anybody online? All right, with that, we will close public testimony. And committee, what's your pleasure on this bill? Moved by Representative Ottman, second by Representative Struck. Discussion and or amendments on the bill? Seeing none. Question having been called. Mark, if you want to call the roll on House Bill 29.
Representative Banks,
Aye.
Representative Davis,
Aye.
Representative Fornstrom,
Aye.
Representative Johnson,
Aye.
Representative Ottman,
Aye.
Representative Provenza, Representative Schmidt,
Aye.
Representative Strock,
Aye.
Chairman Winter,
Aye.
9-0. This is the do pass.
All right, great. Moving right along here. Now we get to hear from another member of our committee with House Bill 61, Cultivated Meat Prohibition, and Representative Strock.
Thank you, Chairman. So as many of you have heard this already, it was a bill that was brought last year. And I do think it's very important for us. And so this bill would prevent lab-grown meat from being manufactured, sold, and distributed for sale in Wyoming and subjects food establishments to a suspension of licensure for violations. And cultivated meat means meat grown in a lab from animal cells instead of being taken from a living animal. This bill was brought last year by our friend Representative Eklund, and as we all know, he's passed out of this life, so we do miss him. And so this bill protects Wyoming ranchers and consumers from dangerous chemicals sold to us under the guise of food. And the other thing that I just wanted to share, that 7 states have passed this ban. So we're not alone in thinking this is not a good thing for our bodies. It's not a good thing for the people who raise livestock. And also we have a MAGA movement going on. And I think it's very important that we're recognizing what is really good for us and what is healthy, what is cancer causing, what is not, was not meant to be put in our bodies. And anyway, the 7 states have passed, and I hope I can name them. Is that okay? So it's Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Montana, Indiana, Nebraska, and Texas. And I would love that we could be the 8th state. So I'd really appreciate your support on this. Thank you.
Don't leave yet. We have questions. Maybe we do. Question, yeah, Representative Fornstrom.
Thank you, Chairman. How similar is the language to these other states? Are we aware, is it, I mean, they pretty well cover that, the absolute prohibition
Yes.
in the other states.
Yes,
Okay.
it has. Thank you. Oh, sorry, through the chairman.
You're good.
Thank,
Further questions? Representative Davis.
Mr. Chairman, Representative, I have a question for you. On page 2, line 13, that statement in there says, no person shall manufacture for sale, sell, or offer for sale or distribute for sale cultivated meat for human consumption in this state. Do you believe that that's limiting the choices to consumers? Are we dictating policy? I guess is my question.
Through you, Chairman, and thank you, Representative Davis. I guess it depends on how you look at it. I feel like we dictate a lot of stuff right here to keep our people healthy. We have dictated car seats, seat belts. We've taken away 3-wheelers. We've banned them in the country. We have done a lot to keep people healthy and alive. So if you do feel that way, or other people do, a lot of us feel that way about a lot of rules, but this one is, I think, very important, and also is very important for the producers also to keep, to keep us in business. There's a lot of places that think we shouldn't have livestock, we shouldn't have beef. There's a lot of places back in the East and the West Coast that just would rather grow it and sell it than have these animals causing gas, I guess, but it's part of their problem. But they're already starting, they don't want it. And so I think we should protect all of us in every way we can.
Follow up, Mr. Chairman. From that aspect, do you think we should have ever went to the moon and developed all those products that we used up there? I mean, I'm looking to the future for industry. Currently, you see it this way. What does the future hold for this? Is there some other applicable form that we are not aware of? And I believe by curtailing private industry from looking and developing this, that's where the issue is, in my opinion.
Chairman. Well, partly it doesn't say they can't go in their lab and try to work this. We're just telling them, don't sell it. I don't care if they want to start working on it, I guess. And if we find out it's healthy, I guess we could relook at this. I have seen that many laws have been changed. I've never seen anything that stayed. We go back to the books and we relook at it. So I think if it was proven that it's healthy, then I guess we could relook at it.
Final, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
And I realize in that section right there, that it says for human, but what about animals? I mean, there's some brewers, things that we're feeding cows. I mean, I think we're being very narrow-minded here in our approach here.
Good Chairman. Well, here's the thing. I guess if you want to add that we protect our animals in this, we could look at that. But right now, I like the fact we're protecting the people.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Further questions? Okay, thank you, Representative. We'll open now this bill up to public testimony. Anybody in the room want to testify on House Bill 61? Right. Department of Agriculture. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, committee. I'm Doug Miyamoto with the Department of Agriculture, and with me today I have Joe Budd. He is the Deputy Director of the Department of Agriculture. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to talk to you today. I'll start out by saying the department is prepared to implement this and we can implement it as it's presented to you. But we have some slight alterations that might tighten things up for us a little bit and make things a little bit easier to administer on the WDA side. That doesn't change the overall outcome of the bill at all. And if you would allow me, I would like to present to you our ideas on this. So starting on page 2, line 2, this says cultivated meat means meat that is grown entirely in a laboratory. That could present some types of loopholes for you if your intent is to prohibit the products totally. There might be a fine line between a laboratory and some kind of commercial kitchen or other type of facilities. So our recommendation is just to take that out, strike entirely in a laboratory. And then to continue that line of thinking on page 2, lines 16 and 17, this gets to Representative Davis's point, and it would be easier for us to administer if we just struck for human consumption in. The reason we say that is that we've done some cursory research and we're not aware of any pet food products that contain cultivated cell meat products in the United States. There's one that we were reading about that might have been introduced in the UK last week or something along those lines. But from our standpoint, regulating human food and pet food as well, if we're going to go after a prohibition, it would be simpler from our standpoint if we just kept it out of the state. Then continuing on page 3, lines 4 through 15, what we have is an alternative that would basically conform the alterations that we're suggesting here into the labeling provisions. And I have copies of what we came up with that kind of simplified the language a little bit. But what it would read instead of what's presented on page 3, lines 4 through 15, instead it would say plant cell cultured or plant-based products not consistent with the definition of meat in subparagraph 6A of this subsection and not derived from harvested livestock, poultry, wildlife, or exotic livestock, as those terms are defined in the following statutes, shall clearly label plant cell cultured product as, quote, containing plant cell cultured product, and clearly label plant-based products as vegetarian, veggie, vegan, plant-based, or other similar terms indicating that the product is plant-based. So again, I have that language to provide to you all and to LSO if you would be inclined to entertain our notions on this bill. The last one, Mr. Chairman, is on page 4, and it is lines 4 and 5. And again, it just strikes for human consumption out of the language. And that is all for our suggestions on this bill. And again, it just kind of tightens it up a little bit for the purposes of regulating that product, if that's your intent for us. And with that, Mr. Chairman, happy to answer any questions that we can.
Thank you. Yeah, and if we could see that, that would be great, especially if Mark could see it. So he's got us all in line there. And questions for the Department of Agriculture? Representative Strzok?
Thank you, Chairman. I just had one just here on line. If we're going to get rid of the human consumption on line 3, we also have another one. I don't know if you caught that one on page 1. So we just need to grab that while we're at it. That's all.
Oh, in the introductory
Yeah,
language.
yes, that was all. So I was just going to throw that out.
Thank you.
Oversight,
then-
I apologize.
No, you're fine. Thank you. But thank you for working on this.
Further questions? Department of Agriculture, Representative Fornstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director, I'm just curious, maybe I'm thinking too far into this, but the need for this section on page 3. So if you can't grow, distribute, do any of these things with cell cultured product, why the need for labeling? Like we can't do anything, based on the bill, we can't do anything with it in our state. So who are we mandating the label for? And there might be a very good reason, but thank you.
Yeah,
Director.
Mr. Co-Chairman and Representative Fornstrom, when we analyzed this, it said for human consumption. And so for us, it just took it into only one other possibility, and that would be pet food, animal feed, something like that. And this labeling would then apply to pet food labels. We've run into some issues with 50 labels for 50 states on animal feeds. And so we like to keep those conforming as close as we can to what other states are doing with pet food manufacturers. And so from our standpoint, if we're going to provide a prohibition, all of it that's available right now, to our knowledge, is for human consumption anyway. But the labeling aspect of that, from our standpoint, was if this ended up in a bag of dog food, this labeling language would then have to be applied to that product for sale.
Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Along those lines, Director, could you explain state primacy and the reason why we have that ability to do that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Representative Davis. It used to be that the animal feed industry was pretty local. You know, you would have supplements that were developed locally, and a lot of the products that went into supplements were also local. And so it started out years ago that you didn't have major manufacturers that were shipping animal feed all over the country the way that it happens now. It's much more centralized today than it used to be. So all of our labeling requirements kind of evolved from that standpoint, and we've retained those authorities over the years. But essentially, we have employees that are members of the Association of Animal Feed Control Officials, and that's all their counterparts from throughout the United States. And it obviously is advantageous if they can agree on a set of standards that comply with all their various state statutes, but also make it consistent for animal feed manufacturers so that they're not trying to cater to everybody. And it happens. It does happen, and it's created some controversy.
Further questions? All right, thank you. Share your testimony. Further public testimony.
Good morning, committee. Era Arno, Rocky Mountain Farmers Union. Our members appreciate the intent behind it, but we do not like the idea of banning a product. We're supportive of legislation that was passed in recent years and is now in Wyoming Statute 357119 EII, which is labeling that requires these cell cultured products to be very clearly labeled rather than banned. But we do appreciate the intent. Thank you. I stand for questions.
Questions? Seeing none, thank you. Further testimony? Anybody online? All right, with that, we'll close public testimony. Committee, what's your pleasure on this bill? Moved by Representative Johnson. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Representative Schmid. Discussion and or amendments on this bill. Representative Strzok.
Thank you, Chairman. I would just like to bring the Department of Ag's amendments.
Heard the motion. Is there a second? Second by Representative Ottman. And you're clear what those amendments are, Mark?
Is it all of them? Well, no, I guess it wasn't. It didn't bring up-
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, Representative Provenza.
I just want to, for clarity, the Department of Ag provided a written amendment, but it doesn't include all of the amendments that they went over. So I think we should move what Representative Schrock should move is the written amendment that they handed us, and we deal with that, and then we can go into the other amendments that they discussed.
Okay. You've got the written one. Okay, perfect. Any discussion on this amendment, which is this written piece here? All in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Aye. No, say no. Okay, amendment is adopted. Further amendments? Representative Provenza.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Based on the testimony from the Department of Ag, I would move to remove human consumption from the short title, line 3 on page 1. Page 2, lines 16 and 17, strike for human consumption. Page 4, lines 4 and 5, strike for human consumption. And if LSO finds anything that they need to change with that conceptually, I would give them the latitude to do so.
Thank you. Do I have a second on the motion?
Okay.
Second by Representative Johnson. You clear, Mark?
One more time, please.
Remove human consumption. So page 1, line 3, strike for human consumption. Page 2, line 2. Nope, strike that. Page 2, lines 16 and 17, strike for human consumption. And then on page 4, lines 4 and 5, strike for human consumption.
Thank you.
Yes.
Discussion on this amendment? All right, all in, pardon? I think she moved it. Yeah, we've moved and seconded. Yep, we're good. Now we're on discussion. Oh, question being called on this amendment. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Amendment is adopted. Further amendments and or discussion? Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Due to the Department of Ag, there is another correction there on page 2, line 2. Remove the verbiage grown entirely in a laboratory.
Seconded by Representative Provenza. Discussion on that amendment? Representative Fornstrom?
Do we need to take out Allen? I think we need to leave it.
Leave grown. Amend your amendment.
Friendly amendment.
Thank you. You're good. You're good. And the second's okay with that one? Ooh, okay. Are you clear as mud, Mark? Okay. Moved and seconded. Discussion on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Amendment is adopted. Further amendments and or discussion? Representative Davis.
Mr. Chairman, not being really clear on section 1, page 1, section 1, line 8 through 12. If by the corrections that we have made, if we have to, I'm not sure on this, read all this stuff there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what do I do? Refer it back to LSO for correction there? That's
Okay.
my question.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
so your question is you're not sure what the statute books do?
Right.
So Representative Davis, that language, so it's creating a new paragraph and by renumbering, by creating a new paragraph. So the section 1 is adding in the definitions into these statutes. So if you look at the green books, I think you'll see where that's going in. I'll go pull one out for you.
Yeah, well, that was my question to LSO, because basically we're just enhancing 35-719E, the labeling part. with what we're doing here. We've changed this here and changed this here, and it's more or less, in my opinion, looking at labeling more than anything else.
That's not the way I read it, but
Okay, well, that's why I'm bringing up that discussion question for LSO to look at this and see what
Lo-
exactly this paragraph should say.
so you think that we're putting this into the wrong statute?
No, no, I don't know if we have to do all this work here. Is my,
They're the ones that did this. So.
well, that was with what existed here, but when we remove human consumption and things like that,
Won't they
We've-
fix that? Won't they take care of that though?
well, that's my question. I just want to make sure that we're not doing too much here. Does that make sense, Mark? Or am I just looking for a trap somewhere?
It does, but the attorneys will pick it up.
Okay. That was all, that was my discussion.
And
Clear.
Representative Davis, when I made my motion on the human consumption issue, I said I gave LSO latitude on the amendment to make conforming amendments. So at least on that
Okay.
amendment, if there's something they have to do there, they can.
I missed that part. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. Further discussion, questions, amendments? Ready to vote? All right, Mark, if you call the roll on House Bill 61?
Voting on House Bill 61 with amendments. Representative Banks,
Aye.
Representative Davis,
No.
Representative Fornstrom,
Aye.
Representative Johnson,
Aye.
Representative Ottman,
Aye.
Representative Provenza,
No,
Representative Schmidt,
Aye.
Representative Strock,
Aye.
Chairman Winter.
Aye.
The vote is 7-2. This is due pass with amendment.
All right, perfect. Final bill for the day, House Bill 90 will bring back Representative Strock to present State Engineer Consumptive Water Use Study.
Thank you, Chairman. So again, which you've all heard this, but we're going to repeat it again. So this bill requires the state engineer to complete a study on water uses that permanently remove water from the water cycle, including data centers, carbon capture technologies, hydrogen production, and other uses to prevent the return of water to the cycle. Wyoming is an arid state, and as we heard earlier, it is not getting any better. And I think it's very important we check in to see how all these industries are going to be using our water. It's very important, critical. We aren't flying blind when it comes to water use. And this bill doesn't, just so y'all, it's not to stop any of these. It's just to find out what is actually going on so that we have very educated when we make these decisions on how our water is going to be used. I think it's very important that we keep it for our people and livestock and growing crops, and then we look at the other ways to use our water. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Questions for Representative Strock? Representative Provenza.
thank you. Representative Strock, there's a very similar Senate File 50, titled State Engineer Surface and Groundwater Study. And I'm curious if you know what the differences between those two bills are?
Go ahead.
Chairman, thank you. I do not.
Okay, thanks.
Further questions? Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chairman, I think the state engineer's office can clarify between the two, but they do different things. So.
Perfect. Any more questions? Okay, I think with that, we'll bring up State Engineer's Office. Go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Brandon Gephardt. I'm the state engineer.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, representative of the committee. I'm Jack Morey, deputy state engineer.
Mr. Chairman, first of all, I'll address the question of the difference between Senate File 50 and Senate File 90, or in House Bill 90. Senate File 50 is specifically looking at assessing the controls that have been put into place under groundwater control areas and the effectiveness of those controls over time. This, I believe, is a completely different study. It has similar language, but it is a totally different type of a study. And Mr. Chairman, as far as House Bill 90, I did have a conversation with the sponsor prior to the legislation being drafted. I do think that this does provide our agency and the state with some valuable information on these emerging technologies and all the different processes that can go along with any of these. There are just a lot of unknowns and it's coming very quickly. So I do think that there is value to the state in this study. I won't have any other comments other than I am concerned about the timeline that is in the bill. We prepared a schedule that would start with the development of the scope, go through the procurement process. And I think this is probably at least a 1-year study. So my only suggestion to this committee would be to consider changing a couple of the dates, particularly on page 4, line 6. I would replace 2026 with 2028. And then on line 13 of the same page, replace 2027 with 2029. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have, but happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Any questions for the state engineer's office? Representative Altman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With it changing of that date, will that do anything to the appropriation, or can we just assume that it will be the same?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Wotman, I think the appropriation is adequate for what I'm envisioning in the study.
Great, thank you.
Further questions? Representative Strzok?
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to clarify, it was at both places on 2029, on line 13 and 17, I assume?
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Strzok, the way I'm thinking about this, line 6, it refers to when the study would be completed. And line 13 is when the appropriation reverts. And typically, I like to have some time to revert the appropriation after the study for in case we run into issues with closeout or we have to do an amendment or a change order or something like that. So that would be the reason for the different times.
On line 17, it also says 2027. Is that one okay? Or did you need that one changed as well?
That needs changed as well. I apologize.
Okay.
Thank you.
To 2029? Okay. Go ahead.
There's one on the appropriation. On the fiscal note.
Mr. Chairman, just to be clear, I think the study could be done in 2028.
Okay.
And my suggestion is that anything tied to the appropriation would be the following year.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director, I just want to know what do we get for $500,000? What's going to be included in the study? I mean, are you going to say where the water can come from? I just don't understand what we're doing with that study. You could explain that to me.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Johnson, I have not developed the scope, but there is language in the bill that talks about not only determining what these types of industries or processes use in regards to water, but also an analysis of how that may impact Wyoming's water and water supply. And I think that is a very in-depth analysis of trying to determine location based. If it's in the southeast corner, it might be different than the northwest corner. So I think there is a lot of work to consider the different types of supplies that we have existing in the state in the different areas. So that would be part of it as well.
Follow up,
ahead.
please. I'm just kind of curious because wouldn't it be easier to export electricity or power lines to a facility that is going to use this hydrogen, like next to the ocean or something where there's plenty of water? I mean, I'm just kind of I don't quite understand why you would even come to Wyoming. We don't have any water. We do have electricity, and I think we could make money on electricity if we did that. So just throw that out there. We're short of water here, but there's plenty of water other places where they want this fuel. And I just want to know, would your study include that the feasibility to use their electricity in other places?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Johnson, I think all we would focus on is the water. I don't have the background, or my agency doesn't have the background for the energy and things like that, but we would focus on the different components of a project that would potentially come to Wyoming and the amount of water that would use for the entire process. So.
Further questions, State Engineer? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's still a bit confusing, Director, because the appropriation date aligned with the 2026 date. Should the appropriation date say 2028 rather than 2029? We've moved it by 2 years. I just want to be clear what the appropriation date is.
Yeah, on the back page said to complete the study by November 21st, so we'll probably increase that as well, so it matches the other language.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, yeah, line 6, that was the results of the study. I think 2028.
Can you see the fiscal note?
No.
That's the questions I think that's the question that he has is on the back, the fiscal note still says 2026.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have the fiscal
Okay.
note.
Pardon? Oh, okay. Clear as mud.
That this date would change to 2028,
Okay, perfect.
one that was pointed out to me.
Thank you. We're all on the same page?
No, they don't have this page.
That's right. We are, they're not. Further questions for the State Engineer? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Appreciate your testimony.
Thank you.
Further public testimony on House Bill 90? Go ahead.
My name is Donna Burgholz. I'm the Executive Director of Powder River Basin Resource Council, and I'm accompanied by my colleague Claire Duder. We are a statewide, member-driven organization with the goal of empowering communities and supporting the responsible use of our natural resources. We have members from across the state, and especially in Cheyenne, who are concerned about data centers coming into their communities. They're very concerned about the large quantities of water that these data centers require and how the projects would impact water quality. These projects arrive in these communities so rapidly that our members have lots of questions without many answers. That said, we support there being a study on water usage for these projects. However, we're concerned that this bill does not appropriate enough funding to provide a thorough study. We agree with the state engineer. This is a complex situation because it involves the entire state and the water systems thereof. We're concerned that this bill would exempt data centers with closed loop cooling, since the text exempts industrial cooling other than large scale industrial cooling. For a truly useful and comprehensive study, data centers with closed loop cooling should also be included. Other things the study should include to provide a useful and comprehensive study are inventory of all existing and proposed large-scale industrial projects in the state that consume a significant amount of water. A map of those projects to surface and subsurface water sources. Model project impacts on stream flows, shallow aquifer depletion and recharge, and most challenging, deep aquifers, which would be targeted by data centers. And connect any reductions in water availability to existing non-industrial uses to demonstrate conflicts. Given all of this, we encourage the committee to take more time on this bill and consider this as an interim topic. There are many stakeholders that should be part of the conversation, and if we're going to spend the money on a study like this, we should make sure that it is both comprehensive and useful. Thank you. I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. Questions? Representative Strock?
I guess, my question to you, if you're going to take it into the interim, which always worries me, we've got it going. We've got support right now. It's a budget year and it is part of the budget will be. That's putting us another year behind and we've got a lot of things coming at us. That would be my biggest concern. I like what you've brought in and I guess we could ask if they could, that would be something could work out. I don't know how bringing this and pushing it. I don't even like the thought of that because it happens and then things don't happen. So I'm not understand. I would like to know why, what's really behind that and what you would think of that.
Mr. Chairman and Representative Stock, our concern is that if this study isn't well-designed and able to be implemented well to give us good data, then decisions will be made based on a study that hasn't provided adequate data to make good decisions. So it would be hurrying for the sake of hurrying. And we agree, this is a really rushed process with these data centers. And we are deeply concerned about what's happening with them. Our concern though, is we want to make sure that we've got good information in order to respond. If you guys, if the committee is able to adjust this bill in a way that addresses all of these concerns, then we would support going forward with it. We're just in its current state. We don't feel that it's going to accomplish the goals that the legislation has.
Further questions? Oh, go ahead, Representative Provenza.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, I share the concern of data centers. I think they're a very consequential problem for us. Can we amend this? Maybe not today, but have conversations after this meeting to figure out how to, what those amendments can look like. Because the date, I think I read the other day that there's 40-something data centers approved in Wyoming. Imagine what that's going to look like in a year. So I share your concerns, but I also know if we don't do this right now, what's our water going to look like in a year and a half when we're getting no snow, no moisture, and we're just approving data centers that are just going to suck up our electricity and potentially our water?
Mr. Chairman and Representative Provenza, we would be happy to speak with people further about amendments and how to make this legislation workable and effective as efficiently as possible.
Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think we're not playing apples to apples here. What we're looking for is a study about our freshwater supply, basically. And what you're talking about is industrial. I think a lot of that is handled in the scope before the DEQ permit can be even issued. So I think the studies that you're looking for would be handled in the industrial siting, the development of that project, and the permitting process. So at that time, those studies could be or should be required by the company that is going forth, not the state of Wyoming. This kind of data that we're deriving here, I think we're not looking at the same bouncing ball out here, in my opinion. But I would rather see industry suffer the cost of the development of the criteria and what we would be putting up there as the bars that they would have to achieve before the permitting process could go forth. Would be a huge savings to the state of Wyoming.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Davis, our reading of this legislation was that it fills the cracks and it gives us a baseline of information that we can use going forward. Each DEQ approval is for a particular project and is not necessarily going to be as fully informed as this would enable of the entire area affected.
Further question, follow up? Nope. Okay, Representative Straub.
Thank you, Chairman. I think I was going to ask if we could get the engineer department back up to ask some of this and pull them into it, just seeing their take on it, if you wouldn't mind.
Well,
on-
let's finish with him
Okay.
and then we can get him back up, no problem. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
I just wanted to also make a note that the question could be worded as, what are the details of the scope of this study? Those are questions that we have that it would be great if the engineer's office could answer those.
go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, ladies. You'd, when you started your testimony, you mentioned that you felt the funding was inadequate. On your understanding of the bill, in your mind, what is an adequate funding number?
Chairman Winter, Representative Schmidt. We did not come up with an adequate number because our recommendations are that there needs to be more added in terms of the scope of this bill in order to make sure that it's addressing the questions that it's supposed to address. So I don't have a number for you on that.
Okay, thank you.
The state engineer may have a number.
Thank you.
Given a little time.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Along those lines of thinking there, you know, the title of the bill says State Engineer Consumptive Water Use Study. So that's pretty site specific what we're looking at here in consumptive water use, not industrial use. And that's what I believe you're referring to more.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Davis, the two are entwined. We can't look at water use without thinking about the other users that are involved and how adjustments in how that water is used are going to impact those other users and what they're already using.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, and Representative Davis, looking at page 2, section B, the last sentence says, as well as potential impacts from large-scale industrial water use. And that's where we're getting our line of thinking from.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate your testimony.
Thank you for your time.
I think we need to kind of draw it back in here. I think it was pretty clear. I think we kind of muddied the water that we didn't need to with that. I think we're in a good place with where it's at. But if we do we need to bring the state engineer back up? Please. Okay. If you wouldn't mind coming back, I think there's some questions for you.
Mr. Chairman, Brandon Gebhardt, State Engineer.
Thank you. Questions for Representative Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and glad to have you here. I've heard that Tallgrass is preparing a power plant for a data center, and that water that they planned on using was contaminated from the missiles, Minuteman missiles. There's a plume of water that's contaminated, and they are actually going to bring the water up from Colorado. Have you heard anything about that? But my question is that this source of water that we heard about is contaminated and they won't use it to cool their plant. But maybe we could use the hydrogen process to separate out the chemicals have that as a useful source of water for this project. Is that I mean, is there other plumes of water that are contaminated and we can't use? Would that be included in your study?
Yeah, I'll let you answer that, but let's kind of bring it off into the weeds back to just this bill if we could, but go ahead and answer that.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Banks, I am aware from my previous life in the consulting world that there is a plume of contaminated groundwater. I don't know the extents of it. I think that's something DEQ is tracking. And I don't know that, I have not heard that the individuals you were talking about, they have not come to us to tell us that is their issue that I know of at this point. So I don't know about the contaminated concerns that you're hearing.
Could that be included in your study?
I'm sorry?
Could that be included in your study? I mean, if there's usable water for that purpose, could we look into that too?
Mr. Chairman, I think Representative Johnson, I think we'd be willing to consider anything that the state wants in the study. A suggestion that I failed to mention first time I was up that typically works well, at least from my perspective though, is that as we develop a scope in my agency, perhaps we present the scope before we go out to contract to either the Ag Committee or the Select Water Committee to get buy-in, that we're thinking the same way that the legislature's thinking. That's something that we can do, is rope that into a meeting during the interim to make sure that we're stepping off on the right step.
Thank you. Further questions? Good. Okay.
Sorry,
Go
Chairman.
ahead.
So I think that's why I would like you guys to come back up. That was kind of my question. What some of the current concerns that were brought up, is that something that we could look into? Would that be in the scope of what we're doing? And so knowing that we could then sit down with you and bring it forth, that was pretty much answered my question, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for coming back up. Go ahead.
Hello again, Era Arano, Rocky Mountain Farmers Union. Our members oppose all actions to take water being used for ag purposes. Understanding the additional stresses being presented on our water system, which truly is a system, everything is connected in our water world, is going to be important in preserving those rights in the long term. So we support efforts to make this a thorough study, one of high quality data that we're not going to have to come back and second guess as we get all of these additional pressures on our water system, both environmental, industrial, population growth, et cetera. Thank you. I stand for questions.
Thank you. Any questions? All right. Thank you. Appreciate that testimony. Further testimony here in the room? Anybody online? Okay, with that, we'll close public testimony. Committee, what's your pleasure on this bill? Moved by Representative Ottman, second by Representative Davis. Any questions, discussion, and or amendments on this bill? Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think to maybe simplify this and help give direction for the state engineer, if we go to page 2, line 17, C, delete from line 17 on page 2 to line 10 on page 3, kind of takes that a lot of this discussion out and gives us a better focus on our study of what I think we need to see from this study. That's my motion.
Okay, you've heard the motion. Is there a second? Hearing none, that motion dies for lack of second. Further amendments? Oh, we have a second by Representative Provenza. Discussion on that amendment.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman
Go ahead.
here. You know, the discussion out here with the public discussion here, you know, a lot of that, those studies would be addressed in industrial development. Okay, whether it be a power plant, a data center, all these types of things are developed. And those are studied in the permitting process. Okay, you know, on your AI deals currently, they've designed closed systems, so there is no water. And I would eventually will see something similar to what we have over there with the nuclear, where we're not using any water. Maybe it's a saline solution, on and on and on. Those are things but they can look at that. But I think what our state engineer and his expertise would be from D on down. That's my opinion.
Further discussion?
No discussion?
Okay.
No.
I'll just discuss to say I'm not in favor of the motion. I think you made an argument why we need to leave that in there. Any further discussion on the amendment? Go ahead, Representative Ottman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm in agreement with your opinion on this amendment. So I would say no, because while DEQ does go in and look at, and I'm not an expert on this, but I'm learning. While DEQ does go in and look at the project for potential things, this is, I believe, to look at the state and actually look to see the water sources and how they interact with one another and all the projects that are going on and the potential for harm if they're not all working together. So that's kind of what I see coming out of this study.
Mr. Chairman, go ahead. In reference to that, I do not believe the state engineer has a crystal ball that can see everything that is coming. If he does, I need to borrow it. But see all the projects that are out there in the wings. I mean, I don't believe that scope exists out there. We don't know what new technology is being developed and everything like this.
That's the reason for this time.
Yeah.
I gotta borrow his crystal ball.
Question being called. That amendment is not adopted. Further amendments and or discussion on the bill?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Representative.
thank you. I believe on page 4, line 6, strike 2026, insert 2028. Line 13, strike 2027, insert 2029. And then on line 17, strike 2027 and insert 2029.
Here, a second?
Second.
Seconded by Representative Strzok. You got that, Mark? Okay. Discussion on the amendment? All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Amendment is adopted. Further amendments and or discussion? Question being called. Mark, if you want to call the roll on House Bill 90.
You're voting on House Bill 90 with amendments. Representative Banks,
Aye.
Representative Davis,
No.
Representative Fornstrom,
Aye.
Representative Johnson,
Aye.
Representative Ottman,
Aye.
Representative Provenza.
Aye.
Representative Schmid,
Aye.
Representative Strzok,
Aye.
Chairman Winter,
Aye.
8-1. This passes.
All right, I think that clears our docket for this meeting committee. Thank you. We are adjourned.